Welcome to Monday Night Live, the weekly training that guides professionals to financial prosperity. Join our community and let's start building your wealth.
In any case, tonight we're actually here to meet Athena. You're guys are going to meet Athena. I interviewed Athena on her podcast, and I knew right away I was going to ask her to come to class and teach because she's got a very, I will consider special history and background. And I don't want to spoil it for her. I'm going to let her tell you about it because it's such a compelling story. It just grabs you by the heart, and that's what happened to me. And when you connect with somebody, you want to help them and share and I think she's going to help you guys too. So, in any case, Athena, welcome to Monday Night Live. I'm so glad to have you on board here.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. It's been just such a pleasure getting to know you, and I'm honored to be here, and hopefully I have a little bit of insight for everyone.
Yeah. Well, if you could, I appreciate it. If you could, tell me about what you were doing in the early days, and then, of course, you realized you had to transition into something because of what happens in the world
Yeah,
you were in. I mean, it's hard on the human body, and
absolutely.
yeah, and then take
So,
take us all the way up to starting a team, and then we'll get into some meat and potatoes there.
okay, perfect. I've got some great strategies when we get there. But so, as Gary said, my name's Athena Brownson. I'm a broker here in Denver, Colorado. I grew up in a little mountain community. For those of you who ski or snowboard or have heard of Breckenridge, I had a couple of ski bums as parents that were very successful ski bums, I should say. Um, Raised me in Breckenridge. My dad was a developer and a professional skier. He was a little bit more psychotic than I was. He liked to go down the mountain as fast as he possibly could, get clocked for miles per hour. So that's kind of the environment of adrenaline that I was raised in. But I like to really go back to my childhood because I learned how to ski when I learned how to walk. And from a very, very young age, I found that I was, in the presence and being coached by some of the most elite level ski coaches in the world. And obviously, that's a very unique opportunity for a young, adolescent individual. But I realized from a very young age that coaching and mentorship and building a relationship really was the only way that I was going to be the best at what my craft was. And at the time, obviously, business was not on my mind. Real estate was not on my mind. I, in fact, had probably the worst view of realtors that you could have. I really thought that it was a very used car salesman industry. We had way more real estate offices in Breckenridge than t-shirt shops. And I really did. I was like, I had this stereotypical connotation with it being very transactional. And it was something that I wanted nothing to do with. It also was my father dragging me through very cold job sites. And nothing about real estate sounded appealing to me at the time. But of course, being a young person having a very maybe short-sighted vision, skiing was my world. And by the time I was 15 years old, I went pro. And basically, when you go pro in skiing, my sport personally was slope style and half pipe. So I was one of those crazy people going off of huge jumps, doing tricks and going through the half pipe. I did competitions like X Games. I qualified for the Olympics. Unfortunately, blew my knee in Olympic training, which was, one of 9 ACL surgeries that I had over the course of my career. But I was traveling the world 300 days a year. And, like Gary said, talking about relationships, really my life became about all of the incredible relationships that I was building throughout my ski career and having these incredible coaches that were really there to help keep me disciplined, keep me accountable. Um, they really are the ones that taught me what resilience and grit looked like and like the art of actually showing up and being present. And I think that's something we all struggle with, especially now with how many shiny objects there are flying through the world in front of us. But from a very young age, I realized the importance of coaching and mentorship. Now, did I think it was going to go anywhere besides skiing? No, I was 15 to I and eventually retired at around 25. And that was mainly because my knee doctor looked at me and said, "Look, Athena, you're going to need 2 knee replacements before you're 30 if you keep up what you're doing." And that was my first identity crisis, I like to say. I had put so much of who I was and what my value was with what accolades I had gotten through skiing. And I really had to take a step back while I, finished out college and have an understanding of who I was as a human and where I wanted to go. Now, again, I had such a negative idea of what real estate was that was never even on my radar. I finished college, had a great time, but didn't wasn't there learning what it was that I was going to be doing for the rest of my life. I studied art history and architecture, which of course lent itself very nicely to where I am now because it taught me the history of design, and it was extremely valuable. But I went into the world of interior design. So I got an internship when I was finishing up college, became an interior designer, so to speak, right when I graduated, and very quickly realized that coming from a background of being, basically in charge of my own success, like however much I put in skiing, I was going to see in the output. And I realized that I needed to be an entrepreneur, that working for someone necessarily was not going to be the right fit for me because I felt very much so that there was a ceiling on how high my success could go. So I sat down with a girlfriend, was just kind of venting about how much my career was draining me and it wasn't, really wasn't fulfilling. Granted, I was learning incredible things about just the overall, development of properties, the principles of design. This was an invaluable time in my life, but it was not my passion by any means. And what I realized, and what my dear friend helped me realize over dinner, was that I loved people. I loved building relationships. I loved homes. I loved designing homes. I loved being a part of the building process. And I realized, okay, maybe, she was a real estate agent, and she said, maybe you should just look at this, even if you just get into development, even if you just work with investors, whatever it looks like, just have lunch with the owner of my company. And something that a business coach of mine says to me pretty repeatedly that I hope resonates with you all as much as it has resonated with me, is that you never understand or know the day that you're going to wake up and meet a person that changes the rest of your life, or be a part of a situation that changes everything for you. And obviously this can be for the best, or it could be something very negative. And we'll get into that because I've dealt with extreme adversity, for the last nine years. But I really consider the day that I sat down with the owner of my first real estate brokerage as one of those days that changed the rest of my life for the better. Because I sat down with this individual, and not only did he radiate goodness, and he was someone that, as a leader, was someone I admired very much in the way that he approached business. And he, within an hour's time, took my, very finite, small thinking way of what a real estate agent was, and he expanded my view, I mean, astronomically. He taught me the value of relationship-based business. He taught me that real estate didn't have to be an individual sport. It was something that you could build a community within, and that it was all about building lifelong relationships with people. And that's something I could relate to. And what I realized, I ended up quitting my job the next day. I was going in for just a little knee surgery to clean things up. And again, this is probably, I was about 17 surgeries in from skiing at this point. I think now I'm at like 28. So but it was always, if you get hurt, you do A, B, C, and D, and you're gonna get better. So I really learned how to be disciplined. I learned that if I wasn't accountable to showing up for, rehabbing a joint, that it was unfortunately not going to get better. But if I showed up and I kept myself accountable to the basics, that I was going to heal and I would be able to continue going. At least that's what my little small psychotic brain thought, because most people probably would have bowed out after maybe 4 knee surgeries. It took me 9 to get the message, but and so I sat down with this gentleman, was convinced immediately that I needed to start real estate school. And as I'm sure a lot of you know that are either in real estate or have heard of what real estate school entails, you don't really learn much that is super applicable in your day-to-day routines, right, Gary? Like you're learning about meets and bounds. You're learning things that are probably not going to be applicable in your day-to-day. So I quickly realized that the only way I was going to succeed as an agent was to find an incredible mentor. And what I ended up doing was going to the owner of the company, the gentleman that had taken me out to lunch. And I just said, I would love to follow everything that you do and bring any value that I can to you and help you out. But in return, be able to listen in on your calls, with various clients, be able to host open houses with you, go to showings, work on market analysis. So really got the opportunity from the start in real estate to be very hands-on and have a mentor that really wanted to help guide me through what actually being a great real estate agent looked like. And I realized very quickly that the best business school I ever went to was in being an athlete. And I think that we can all relate on some level to whatever it is that you're passionate about, maybe in your past or current. It brings something out of you that makes you want to be the best you can be. And it makes you want to be disciplined. It makes you have that resilience to keep pushing forward. But unfortunately, life throws things at us that I think one thing we can all relate to is that life throws adversity at you. And adversity can look like, relational challenges. It can be the fact that the market is, a little more difficult right now than it's been in a while. It can be health issues, which is where I'm at. This, something that all humans have in common is that we face adversity. And unfortunately, societally, I think it's really easy to approach adversity with a mindset of not a growth mindset, basically. And so I was about 2 years into my real estate career. I had just really caught my stride. As realtors know, it takes a little while to really, connect with your sphere, gain that credibility and that trust that people want to actually work with you. And I was feeling, I was still in peak physical condition from being a professional athlete. I finally was figuring out real estate and doing really well. And I went in for another neck surgery. It was number 2 at the time. And it was supposed to be just a very routine cleanup. I had a few discs replaced in years previously. And as I was recovering from neck surgery, obviously I was continually working the whole time. This is at a time that I did not have a team. I was an independent agent. Did I have backup? Sure, but for the most part, it was all on me. And I started to really recognize that something was going on with my body, and that, this wasn't related to the actual neck itself, because my neck felt amazing. It was, the one pain that had been there for years was finally gone, but yet the rest of my body was tanking. I was extremely fatigued to the point where I could barely open my eyes in the morning. Had such bad nerve pain that I was barely able to use my hands, and I kept getting all these really rare GI infections. So I got really lucky. I went to a physician at the time that knew about Lyme disease. And I don't know how many of you have heard about Lyme disease, but it's the fastest growing epidemic in the country right now, which is absolutely wild to me. I think the news is going wild right now because Justin Timberlake just got diagnosed with Lyme disease, and it really explains why he's been having alcohol issues for the last 2 years, because he's in so much pain, nerve pain, that it really isn't functioning. So Lyme disease is completely debilitating. It attacks whatever you're genetically predisposed to, and that it looks very different in different people because of that. So when my doctor kind of suggested that I get tested for Lyme disease, I thought he was completely insane. I'd never seen a tick. I have no knowledge of being bit by a tick, yet this is a tick-borne illness. And I had no idea the gravity of what this diagnosis was about to do to my life. In my head, I was still almost a little bit invincible, because I had gone through so many injuries, and I'd gone through, you know, rebuilding myself over and over again, not just physically, but, rebuilding a career after skiing. And I was really good at following the steps of, if you do A, B, and C, and D, you're going to get better. Well, when I got this Lyme disease diagnosis, the more that I learned, the more I realized that this was not going to be an easy journey. And this was not going to be something that, if I, followed a few quick regimens, I was going to get better from. The cellular shape of Lyme is such that it's a screw. It screws into your own cells, creates a biofilm around your cells, so it becomes like impenetrable. And then it's like, okay, try and get rid of me now. And it's extremely difficult. So I was told at the time, I had gotten to a point probably 6 months into being diagnosed that I was completely unable to use my hands, because I had developed a very, very rare sensitivity to electronic frequencies. So it's called an EMF sensitivity. So anytime, and as a real estate agent, we live on our phones and computers. That's how we get business done. But I was unable to touch my phone or computer without getting if I didn't have protective lead gloves over me and a lead blanket around me, I was unable to touch them without getting severe electrical burns that would, start bleeding pretty quickly. So it got to the point where I ended up needing to move into an RV. And that was because the RV, I could be in the middle of nowhere, not connected to electricity, no Bluetooth, no Wi-Fi. And when I needed to write contracts, because as many doctors told me that I should go on disability and just stay at home, I knew that if I did that my mental state was going to decline so much that there's no way that I would be able to get better. So I was writing, $1 million contracts, wearing lead gloves, sitting actually at the campground area that had a small area that had Wi-Fi for a little over 8 months. And I think that was the point in my career that I realized, okay, I need help. I can't do this by myself. And I was an only child, a one-person sport skiing. I did not know how to delegate. I did not understand the value of team, working with a team. I thought that I could get everything done myself, and I didn't really understand that there were items in my life and in my business that should be delegated. And I had no concept of, where my green time was, which is, my prospecting and making money, what time, my yellow time, which is probably things I could delegate out, and red of things that I just should get out of my schedule. I had no concept of this. So that's where coaching came back into play. And I realized, pretty quickly while I was living in this RV, that if I didn't have a coach that was going to be helping guide me through this, that there was no way that I was going to be able to build a team and continue to be successful at real estate. So that's really where it started. Do you want me to keep going, Gary?
Yeah, what I do want to recognize a couple of people. I apologize for doing this early. We have two brand new agents on the team, Camille Jordan and Mark Phillips. So welcome aboard, officially, Camille and Mark. Glad to have you.
Welcome.
And
Thank
yep.
you.
So Mark came in under Jessica Martin, and Camille came in under, we call her Lily, but Lisa Watson. And also, I got a little surprise for you here. Another fellow Compass agent is on with us. Brooke Cromer is from the
I know that
Panhandle of
name.
Florida. Brooke, I thought
Brooke,
you guys might be familiar with each other because you're both freaking
yeah,
awesome, Hey,
Brooke,
Brooke.
are we in the same That One mastermind together?
Yes, we are. I know. I was like,
Yes.
this girl.
That's so neat. So again, the
Yeah.
art of relationship. I mean, we're both in a mastermind together that's filled with honestly some of the most brilliant humans, much like here. And what a small world. So nice to see you, Brooke.
Yeah. Well, I interviewed Brooke also on the podcast. It's weird that I've been doing podcasts for 7 years, and like in the last 2 months have been 3 people that have really struck me, and you were 2 of them, and another, Debbie Maggio is out in California, and she's with Corcoran. But so I want to let you both know, I invited both of you to go to the Agent to CEO event
Yes.
up in Cleveland. I've never been either. This is my breakout year. I haven't been to conference in years because I was, taking care of a family member.
Yeah.
And so I'm like making up for lost time. So you're gonna benefit from that if you has anybody ever been the agent to CEO? Anybody on the call? I've never been, but I keep hearing all these awesome things about it. If you know anybody that's been or speak up.
I haven't been myself, Gary, yet. I hope to go maybe this year, but I know several of my business partners have gone, and they've gone back year after year because they say how awesome it's been, and it's really helped them, bring their businesses to the next level. So, and they already had good businesses, so I hear it's really, really incredible.
Well, everyone, let's
And
go. We've got a great group.
telling you,
Let's
man.
do it.
There's a guy named Nick DeVito who's actually up there, and I've known him for a couple of years. I didn't know this. You just said it this morning. He's been every single year they've had it. So I'm definitely going. They do a special event for anybody that hasn't heard of this. They have a special fundraiser called Rock and Rescue that Albie, one of the founders, puts on. He's one of the most humblest people you ever meet. When you talk to him, he's wearing his hat on backwards, typical dude. And he's a rock star. So in any case, we get that involved. We get to do that too. So yeah, I hope anybody that can go, let me know. I'll see if I can scrounge up a ticket for you. I'm going to buy a handful myself
is
already.
it,
In fact, I already
Gary?
got them, but
Can you put in the chat when
it's
it be?
September. Yep. September 24th and 25th up in Cleveland. Cleveland's got a decent airport. You can fly in for pretty much anywhere. And it's a very affordable place to hang out and party and have fun. And of course, Rock and Roll Hall of Fame's there. It's right on the lake. It's pretty neat. So I've been up there
Pretty
quite a bit, but
excited
I
to
never
see
knew this.
that.
Yeah. So that'd be awesome if you both can make it. You're going to meet some pretty awesome people. I mean, like
I'm in.
people above us
Me too.
that are
Yeah,
cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking
100%
forward to it.
in. I
Well,
think it's an amazing opportunity. And again, if the more of us that can be there and grow those relationships, it'd be
Yep.
incredible.
Yeah, and anybody here on, if you think you want to go, I'll send you the links. You can check out a video Albie did in a brief description of the event. It's really for people like, let's say you got the top of your game as a solo agent and you're ready for the next thing, which is usually build a team. or you have a small team, you're really looking to like get it to the next level where you're literally the CEO, which means you're not in the heat in the thick of the battle anymore. You're hit that next level. That's what I think Brooke and you and Athena both are now, but it's kind of that range in there. And it's, I mean, from what I've read and the people I've spoken to, um, it's kind of a no-brainer. So yeah. All right. I didn't mean to go off on a down a
No,
rabbit
it's
hole like
great.
that. I just want to let you know Brooke was here. I thought that was pretty awesome for her to do that. You know.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Hey, Gary,
Yeah.
just one quick thing. If you can just,
Yep.
everybody, if you want to use the chat, you need to, I'm going to try and re-promote you. You got to click yes. Otherwise, you're just going to be a spectator. And Athena, I, I, I live in Old Lyme, Connecticut, the home
You
of Lyme
do.
disease. So I didn't
You,
send it
Oh,
your
that's right.
way. And then I don't know if you know the
Mhm.
name Ashley McIver. She's from Canada. She was on the Canadian team.
I
Not
do know that
right.
name.
So I know her father. She wouldn't know who I am, but I used to live in Seattle, so I spent a lot of time up at Whistler Blackcomb. So
I used to ski with her in Whistler, probably 6 summers in a row
okay.
up on
She
the
was a
glacier.
little hot dog. She was a little kid. I'm an
Yeah,
old guy.
I was
And
too.
last thing, I nowhere near your level, but I had the fortune of racing in high school. My team won the state championship 3 years in a row, so that was fun.
That's pretty cool. I
So
mean, come
that
on.
that's my ski story. That's
Uh,
it.
Where were you skiing?
In Connecticut.
In
So
Connecticut. Okay, very
those
cool.
little molehills. Nothing that you had fun on.
The ice coast.
Yes, there you go.
Yeah.
That's how I learned to go fast.
You know, that's a good place to learn how to
Point
go
them straight and
fast.
go fast. So,
Exactly.
all right, sorry for interrupting.
No, I
You're
love
doing
it.
great, and you
Thank
got me
you.
very
Yeah.
excited. So thank you.
Yeah, good. So shall I
Thanks.
continue on, Gary?
Yeah, yeah, go ahead. And guys, if you have questions, like Eric said, let yourself be a panelist. It doesn't mean you're going to be on a panel. It's just what Zoom uses to give you access to chatting and all that stuff. It's kind of important if you want to participate. But you go, so Tina, so you got us to where you started your team. Go ahead and
Yeah,
hit dive in and anything you can share, like you know, like we can always go to training and read books, but there's just things that like filling in the gaps kind of thing, the little nuances, stuff like that you can share and don't mind
absolutely.
sharing. That'd be awesome. These strategies, anything like that, you know?
So I think something that when you're facing adversity of any kind in life, you kind of get drained of passion in a certain way. And what I realized really quickly that real estate was actually the passion that was going to keep me looking forward. So when I had all these doctors telling me, you need to go on disability and just take a break from real estate, there was nothing in the universe that sounded worse to me because I needed that social interaction. I needed to be able to build relationships with clients and have really authentic relationships. Like there's not a single person I work with to this day, and I'm still battling Lyme, that doesn't know a part of my journey because it's me. It's part of my life right now. And most likely they know that 4 days out of the month I'm getting plasma transfusions still, and they're most likely going to be working with one of my team members. So being able to be in a career that not only I was passionate about, because I love real estate, but one that I could show up authentically was so critical to me. But what I realized in a lot of real estate training and a lot of coaching and just programs was that it was a one size fits all approach to how to approach real estate. And it looked like, it usually consisted of making as many phone calls as you could in a day, usually being cold calls, kind of creating, going to networking events, but not, I never considered it actual networking, because going to a networking event, I was trained like, oh yeah, you just want to hand out as many cards and get as many cards from people as possible. And it felt very unauthentic to me. And I finally had an incredible coach who helped me realize that in this world of real estate, there are so many different approaches and different ways to being successful. And whatever resonated with one person might not resonate with the next. And the more that we could hone in on what our natural abilities are, looking at personality tests, like doing a DISC profile test, doing any profile test that you can really help understand where your gifts are and what are the things that you maybe struggle with or should be delegating, you should or shouldn't be doing at all. And this coach really helped me to hone in on what my natural talents were and what my gifts were. But what I realized very quickly and was that if I didn't have some sort of accountability tracker for how I was actually going to get the things done throughout the day that brought me business, that I think all of us can relate, that real estate very quickly becomes a day of putting out fires and running around with your head cut off. And usually, if you're not very disciplined with your schedule and your boundaries, that the things that keep your business running are usually the things that get pushed off your plate the fastest. I'm not sure if anyone here has been in the core coaching program, but I have an amazing, and I can send this to Gary after so that he can share it. But what we came up with was what's called a greatness tracker. And basically this was something I print out every Sunday night, and it has all of the activities that I'm supposed to be doing each week in order to keep my business from having the huge ebbs and flows that we experience, not only just in real estate, but through, when we're going through things in life. It's really difficult not to have those ebbs and flows when, you've got a family member that's sick or a relationship going downhill, whatever it may be. We all face challenges. And I think when you look back on your life, no one's ever looks back and says, man, when everything was going really well, I learned so much about who I was as a person. No, it's when we're going through the most challenging times in our lives that we have the opportunity, at least, to grow and to build the character and to grow into the person that we want to be. And when I, first was diagnosed with Lyme, I think as anyone, when you're going through something difficult, it's really difficult not to get stuck in that mud and to let yourself sink there. And I think it's really important to acknowledge whatever it is that you're going through, but you have to find ways to get yourself up out of that mud and moving forward. And for me, I needed something concrete, tangible, that I could fill out every day to make sure that I was getting the activities done that needed to be done in order for me to grow my business. So I implemented a greatness tracker, and I made it not only about the activities in my business, which were how many face-to-face meetings am I having per week? How many phone calls am I making a week to, each day I had a different theme. So it was, past clients, active clients, sphere of influence, whales, and then cold calls. Like, was I making 10 to 12 calls a day? Was I sitting down and having a meal or a coffee with at least 3 to 5 people a week? Was I writing handwritten notes? Honestly, as silly as it seems, especially with investors, this is something I do religiously, is write 4 handwritten notes a week or a day, excuse me. And that can mean, instead of the typical farming of a neighborhood, getting hyper focused on what type of property you're searching for your investor, and writing that homeowner an actual note instead of just sending, more generic mail. But the way to really stay in relationship with people is to know what's going on in their lives and to actually invest time into building that relationship. And we have so many tools at our disposal. Go on Facebook, look through birthdays, input them into your CRM, and make sure that you have a reminder to send a birthday note 3 days before their birthday, or a home anniversary, or you know, a happy anniversary or a, hey, it's been way too long. Here's a, you know, $5 gift card to Starbucks or $10. Let's go grab a cup of coffee, something like that. So handwritten notes has honestly been, over the last 11 years of real estate, one of my biggest business builders, which is funny to think about, but it's true. I would track how many open houses I'm doing. I would track how many leads and contracts I was writing. But then I realized really quickly that if I was only focusing on my business, if I was only focusing on what tools were going to make me successful in business, that I was most likely struggling with my health. I was not intentionally taking care of myself. I was not seeking balance. Again, I've got the athletic mentality that's very competitive, and I was running myself into the ground. So I quickly realized that I needed to put what are the activities in my life that actually are refueling me. And that meant like going to the gym, eating clean, making sure I'm meditating, making sure I'm doing my morning and evening routines. I mean, I think the more that we can create routines or rituals, so to speak, in our lives, the more that when things are not easy, like the real estate market is not necessarily easy right now. And I think a lot of times that's an opportunity for people to want to take a step back and just kind of, you know, wait till it gets better, or find another career, maybe get complacent, whatever it may be. But again, going back to when the most growth happens in our lives, it's when things aren't easy. So why not take these opportunities where when the market's not doing its best to implement something into our business that's actually going to take us to the next level? So it's an opportunity to lean in. It's an opportunity to reinvigorate and re-inspire yourself, simply because you can, you know, it's time to get creative. Like when things are difficult and the traditional, you know, if I do A, B, and C business model is not working, then that's the opportunity and the red flag that shows you, hey, there's something else I can be doing, but making sure that it's authentic to you and creating a system or some form of accountability in your life that's going to ensure that you're actually doing those activities and you're doing them consistently. And I think one of the biggest struggles as, you know, agents and busy humans in general is, okay, I might have 2 hours blocked out on my calendar to get this done every morning, but what if I'm putting out a big fire? What if I'm, you know, have a client completely losing it? Well, I understand, for me especially, I've never been someone that's necessarily, my timing has to be like boom, 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 boom. Surprisingly, because of athletics, that I'm not like that, but I'm not. So I have to intentionally be that way. But it also taught me that I need to be able to be flexible with my schedule. But by flexible, I don't mean that you can write that off. I mean that if I can't do that 2-hour block in the morning, that it needs to get rescheduled for later that afternoon or early evening, whenever it may be. It doesn't get to go to the next day, because if it's something that's going to go to the next day, it's most likely not going to happen and you're going to miss a day. And that's where we start to see those really big ebbs and flows again. But what I realized, especially, you know, I mean, I can't tell you how many contracts I've been writing through from a hospital bed, or how many phone calls I've had to make, or whatever it may be. It almost, in a way, allows you an opportunity where if you need to go on autopilot and when things are not easy in life, that you have a routine, you have a structure that you can rely on, that you can say, look, I know how to get these activities done. So I'm going to continue to implement them no matter how much I'm going through, or no matter what's thrown at in my way. So that's been something that's been absolutely huge to me. It's also been huge for my team. My team is on a very different looking greatness tracker, because, you know, my executive assistant or operations manager, her job isn't prospecting. Her job is to keep it so that I'm prospecting. So something else that came really became a pivotal part of my business, and something that I do almost quarterly, is looking at a time study. So taking your calendar, writing out hour by hour what activities that you were doing, you really seeing in front of you what it is that you're actually accomplishing in a day, and then go through and highlight in green, red, and yellow. Green's the activities that are making you money. Yellow's the activities that maybe you have to do, but maybe you can be delegating because they're not your strong set. And red are going to be the activities that are probably just a waste of time and things that you should not even be delegating, but getting off your plate so that you have more time for green. And that, being someone that did not have the tools or the skills, at least I thought, to delegate well, this was one of the most critical, helpful activities that I do every quarter, because it helps me to visualize what's taking up the majority of my time. And is that are those the things that I should be spending my time on? I mean, oftentimes we get so, for example, social media, one of the biggest, you know, things that I have implemented in the last couple of years is I have a really great following on Instagram, and every day I post a different video that explains just a real estate tip, trick, takes you through a property, maybe shows you around a neighborhood of Denver, but I'm putting out one video a day. And if I was, at first I was the one that was editing these, putting them online, and I realized probably not quickly enough, actually, I probably should have realized faster, that was going to be that was something that was taking up so much of my time to edit. I'm not tech savvy in the slightest, so maybe some people can throw edits together really quickly. I'm not that person. So I realized that, hey, if I continue to spend 2.5 hours a day on just posting one Instagram video that, and YouTube, Facebook, everything, that it was a big waste of my time. But if I hired that out, if I could just, one of my coaches said to me, when you're filming a video, if you film it one time and you got out everything that you needed to say, even if it wasn't perfect, don't rewatch it, just send it in. I mean, use it, don't continue to refilm it, because the more that you watch yourself, the more you refilm it, you're just going to get more anxious and probably screw it up more. And you're going to end up an hour later with the video that you filmed the first time. So unless you really mess something up, don't refilm it, just get it out there. And I think with the access to information that we have, and the access to information that our consumers have as well, it's we have enough content out there about what people need to know about real estate. I mean, just go on ChatGPT and ask for 20 video prompts and they'll write you up scripts. Honestly, it's something I'm just, I'm slow on the ChatGPT train, but I'm getting there. And it's something that, hey, if I can't think of something valuable to bring to my clients in a video, I'm going to go on ChatGPT and do it. But that's just an example of one thing that resonated well with me. I like being on video. It's something that clicks naturally for me. And I started to see that the ROI was there. If I was consistently putting these out, that I was getting people that wanted to work with me based on that. And that goes into consistency, and in the world of real estate, we're all looking at 100 squirrels a day, like shiny objects everywhere. There's always a different technology. There's always a different CRM. Everyone has a different tactic. And hey, that's great, because that means there's something that's going to resonate with everyone. However, something I fell victim to was the excitement that you hear about a certain product or a different, a different resource that could be used. And if I wasn't actually passionate about it, if I didn't feel like it was something I fully wanted to be involved in, then I was most likely going to use it for like a week and then throw it out the door. And I think we all do that a lot in life and in real estate is and that's not to say don't try things, of course, but it's all about figuring out what works for you. And when I say figuring out, it's like really understand what your dollar per hour is and understand what the ROI of your activities are. Like how
Yeah.
what's the return of your time, and is it actually something that's bringing you business, or is it something that you've given a really good effort to over the last year and it's not bringing you business and you need to try something else? But the theme in all of it is A, simplicity, and B, consistency. I think we overcomplicate
Yeah.
life so much.
Mm.
We overcomplicate business so much. So how can we take it down to the basics? It's like keep it simple, stupid. How can we keep it as
Mhm.
simple as possible? Like, what are the key activities that I know if I consistently do, they're going to bring clients in? What are the key activities that are helping me to build relationship with clients that's fully authentic and that feels good to me? Because when you're operating out of a place of authenticity, you're operating out of a place where you will be consistent because it feels natural to you. And when we're doing activities consistently, like if you do one open house every 2 months, are you going to get a lot of business off open houses? Most likely not, unless you're really lucky
Yeah.
and someone just walks in. Or if you're looking at, say you're hunting for an investment property, but you're only looking at going to actually walk one property every 4 months, you're not learning that market. You're not educating yourself on your options and where your dollar is going to get you the most, what aspects of a property you should be, paying attention to. Like this is all time to truly educate yourself. So whatever it is that you're committing yourself
Mhm.
to, no matter whether things are good, bad, or ugly, really showing up with consistency and authenticity. And that's honestly been the only things that have kept my business continually growing while I've been
Mhm.
battling this illness. I mean, I had the best year of my career last year during a difficult market while I spent probably a quarter of the year in the hospital. And
Yeah.
for me, I would not have been able to do that if I didn't have systems in place and a team in place that I knew, for me, culture is everything. So my team is very
Mhm.
small but mighty, and Gary and I have been talking about this. But having that culture of people that will take just as good, if not better, care of your clients than you will, because they are so
Mhm.
committed and invested to the team that, I know that if I'm getting a plasma transfusion or if I'm hospitalized for whatever reason, I've got a team that has my back and will take incredible care of my clients, who are the people that keep me going. So between
Mhm.
those two things, I wouldn't be able to be having my best years, over and over again, because everything inside of my body wants to stay in bed and quit and not do anything. But I realize that when I'm out doing what I love, like it's truly my why. And when we figure
Mhm.
out what our why is, when we figure out where our passion is, and really how we can serve others, how we can be involved in our community in ways that are, for me, development has been something that's come into my life in the last 3 years, just developing properties and being able to be a part of creating special environments in the city that I love so
Mhm.
much, that I grew up in, is something that is so invigorating to me, that no matter how bad I feel, no matter what's going on in life, it gets me out of bed
Mhm.
and it keeps me moving. So, I mean, I'm like that. I'm now that corny real estate person that's like, I love my job more than anything. I went
Mm.
from literally
Yeah.
being the biggest hater ever to I would not change this for the world. And it's been 11 years since I got my license, and it just gets better all the time. And that's not to say that, you know, it's not exhausting right now. I think we're all probably a little bit beat up. But again, this is the time for us to lean in and to dig in and to find that creativity within us, because we don't get opportunities all the time where things are not laid into our lap. You know, we do get those times in real estate. It usually means you're running around like on fire and in your own way, but this is an opportunity for us to get creative and to really to utilize different resources and mentors and coaches and connect with people that are doing things that you admire. I mean, one of the best pieces of advice I got was anything in life that you're doing, if you find someone in your community or even not in your community that is doing what it is that you want to be doing and is, you know, someone you almost idolize, get close to figure out how you can get close to that person, figure out how you can ask, you know, bring them coffee to their office and pick their brain. How can you start a relationship with that person? Because oftentimes, you know, people do want to share what they have, the knowledge that they've accrued, way more than we think they want to. People love to be able to share what they've learned and to help you grow as an individual when you build that relationship. And that's what you would do and continue to do. If someone is doing, you know, if someone's really incredible at implementing something into their business, or maybe, you know, I'm looking at their business from the outside and just saying, how are you selling, you know, 125 million a year? Like, what are you actually doing? I'm going to ask that person out for lunch. I'm going to take them out to lunch and say, can I just pick your brain? Now is the time to do that. Now is the time, especially, you know, when business isn't moving as quickly, maybe we have the time right now to find the best of the best, or take additional classes, or listen in on or classes like this, listen in on podcasts, listen to audiobooks. Like, the access to information that we have is absolutely out of this world. Now is the time to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I have several questions myself. I mean, there's so much in there. But so on the videos, you're using ChatGPT to get like a script, but you're still
Sometimes.
doing, yeah, okay. But you're still directly doing your own recording, the video recording. In other words, you're not using an avatar yet.
Not
Okay.
yet.
Yeah. And that's awesome. We've been using AI. I mean, it's just like every week we're using it more and more. But we have a special project going on right now. It's called Accelerate. It's the group we're in, our team is in a larger group, which is in, of course, the brokerage. And that group has a program called Accelerate that involves something called Funnel Pilot that's partly Facebook posts, partly YouTube. Um, in the video portion, we have a meeting every morning. People can jump in on it. It's kind of like, you know, open mic. The only requirement is you have to record your own videos still personally, and you get the
Yeah.
ideas for content. You share it. It's a pretty awesome thing. So we've been doing that to battle you know, last year volume dropped. I think it's like 40% across the board. Worse
Yeah.
in some areas, better in others. But you have to really be intentional to keep your head above the water and not just survive but thrive. And I like the fact that you're still doing your videos personally and you are using AI, which I feel bad for anybody that's not using AI yet, because I'm watching it and they're going to quickly be left in the dust. But the other thing is the cards. So are you still handwriting them? Do you use a service for that, or what's
No,
your
I
approach there?
handwrite them. And
Wow.
you know, on the surface, that might seem like, man, that's a lot of time. And is it worth
Mhm.
it? But when I look at the return basically on that 20 minutes a day that I'm spending, and you know,
Yeah.
if I've had a crazy week, I might batch them out and do 20 notes during the weekend. But it's so easy to find things to write people about when you just go on
Yeah.
Facebook and get everyone's birthdays, get anniversaries. I mean, or hey, I haven't seen you in a while. Let's grab coffee. And then it
Yeah.
gives you an opportunity to follow up with a phone call a couple days later. So
Yeah.
honestly, like I've gotten a lot of the cards that are written out by like the robots and it's meant to look like handwriting. And honestly, it still just doesn't feel as much of a personal touch to me. So
Yeah.
I am the service that does that.
Yeah. Well, I have one of those. I know it's computer generated. I mean, I was grateful to get it, and that I
Yeah.
could see that they did sorry, they did the return address. And I know it's artificially produced, but they used the label for the name, and I'm okay with it. I mean, the thing is, I got it. It's small in stature, and I opened it up because it looked more personal. And you're
Exactly.
one of three people that I know two people in the last year that are operating at the highest level, and they're still doing handwritten cards. And it's a huge one of them. Her name's Corinne. And she just landed her own television program in Florida, by the way, on real estate. And you
Wow.
think she got hired as a producer? Yeah, she's an awesome agent, and
That's
she does
incredible.
handwritten cards. And yep, we met her last year, like January. I had her come and teach like in March. Um, but she brought it up. She actually came to the wrong date, which was pretty cool because it ended up being real authentic and genuine, like you said, being authentic. That was like a 2-hour class because we just couldn't get enough of her. But that's what
Love
she
it.
said in January after all the holidays were over and all the normal stuff that goes out. She said, I'm just going to write people a simple note just to say, I hope your transition back in the work life is fun. I really enjoyed seeing you and I hope you have fun with your kids. All this. Anyways, one guy called her. He said, I just want to thank you for sending the card. It's totally, I didn't expect that. I can tell you wrote it yourself. It is that it's so funny you wrote it when you did because I have a friend who's in the middle of something. He's got to, buy something and sell something else. That one card turned into 3 transactions, you know,
Yeah.
um, and it just took probably 3 minutes to write it and stamp it and send it off in the mail, but and she same thing. She just does a handful a day. As she said, that was her thing. A handful means five.
Yeah.
You're at four. You're in the group. You're in the inner circle. So
Yeah.
um,
Honestly, it's one of the most, it makes people feel seen and special. And when I get a handwritten card in the mail, I feel the same way. So being able to, stay on top of mind in such a positive way is one of the greatest gifts you can give your business. And literally,
mhm,
it does not have to be, I have a tendency to write paragraphs, which is one of my downfalls, but it doesn't have to be long, it's just a check-in that
yeah,
you actually care.
yeah. We're so much alike, like our communication style. I mean,
Hmm.
it's like spot on. But I want to ask you, so when it comes to marketing, you get the cards, you're doing the videos. Is there a third thing? Are there like three things you're like, you know what? Every week I've got to do these three things. And you might do some other things. You might do four and five, but are there three you can think of that are like that's your
I'm
every day
like,
you're
I
gonna do
can
those three
think of
things?
so many. Honestly, face-to-face meetings and meals or coffee is probably the third thing.
Okay.
Again, I've got a trillion bit that I do that are really important, but my
Hmm.
forte for sure is when I'm sitting down with someone one-on-one or a small group
Hmm.
and I'm building relationship. And when I'm
Yeah.
doing that consistently and just even just the act of reaching out to people to see when you can take them out for lunch or for a cup of coffee or happy hour, it is so, people want to be seen, people want to be heard. And when you're taking that time to say, hey, it's been a while, like I'd love to hear how you're liking your house, I want to catch up on how your kids are doing, whatever it may be, that's the authentic relationship building that is going to get you, transact. Like, I do deals with clients now that I helped them buy their first property 10 years ago, and we're now
Hmm.
on their third home and helping them find investment properties. And I really attribute
Nice.
that to just continuing to have that face-to-face interaction, to have that relationship, because it will set you apart and show people that you do care and that you are not, I think we oftentimes get a rap of being too busy for people. And
Mhm.
it's true. It is really difficult to do it all, and we are very busy. But if you're working into your calendar that you're meeting, 3 to 5 people for a drink or
Mhm.
food, whatever it may be per week, those are relationships that you are going to be top of mind, and you're going to be the first person that they think about when someone says they're looking for a real estate agent. So I would say
Yeah.
those are probably my top 3.
It's interesting the way you described it. We have on our team website, we have multiple tabs that, you can go to this tab for the marketing campaigns, this tab for books, this tab for scripts. Well, in the marketing tab, there's 2 things that people download, and one of them has it's 2 diagrams, basically 2 centrifugal circles, a circle within a circle, and one is 2 of them. There's one on the clients, your prospects, and the other one's on the marketing campaign. So the prospect one, the innermost circle, we put number 1 in there because that's the people you're closest to and are closest to you. They love you the most, you love them the most. The next outer band, circle 2, outside of that, there's people that are acquaintances, but friends, but acquaintances more or less. And the third band is pretty much everybody else. Then on the marketing side, the innermost circle, number 1, is the most direct marketing, which means the most direct communication. So that's personal phone call, personal note, things like that. And then next outer layer is going to be slightly less direct or slightly less personal, like messaging on Facebook, for example, which you could construe as being a circle 1, but people are more likely to ignore a Facebook private message if they're a circle number 2 person versus a
Mm-hmm.
circle 1 person. See what I'm saying? So at the end of the
Absolutely.
day, number 1 prospects and number 1 marketing, which is the people you know the best and the most direct, is absolutely hands down the fastest way to production. And it's not that you ignore the rest, you work those in, but as far as scheduling, you're going to put a greater percentage of time towards the number 1 people and number 1 marketing, and then less time on number 2s and less time on number 3s. And if you do that, you'll always have a funnel, people coming in,
Yeah.
moving from circle 3 to circle 2 and circle 2 to circle 1. It's just a graphic way to show what we've been talking about. But when it comes to measuring tracking, Athena, now you have something graphically to remind you and explain why. Why do we
Yeah.
track our numbers? Why do we make sure we know what we're doing every day? What are the 25 things we're doing every month? And
Mm-hmm.
like you said, green, yellow, red, your tracking your activities will let you know what is green, yellow, and red, you know?
Yeah. And something I
So
also do that's a little, works well with what you just said is having a top 50, VIP list and having a top 50 past client list. And, it's really easy for our CRMs to get inundated with 100 trillion people, and it's great,
mhm,
it's great as long as it's very organized. But who are the top 50 people that are sending you deals? Who are your top 50 past clients that are your biggest hype people? And tracking, I'm very much like a pen to paper person. I've got it all electronically also, but mainly because of my history with electronics and it not going well, I'm very much a pen to paper person. And I print, I
mhm,
have a printed out top 50 VIP, top 50 past clients, and I track how many times that I'm quote unquote touching them. Like, how many times am I calling them? How many times have they gotten a handwritten note? Make sure they're on my monthly newsletter. Are they getting my printed monthly newsletter? Like, how many
mhm.
times am I interacting with the people that I want to be top of mind for and that I want to make sure that I'm in relationship with? And then, that's your circle 1. And then it'll go,
Yeah.
you can have your CRM tagged so that maybe the next
Mhm. Yep.
level is your B's and C's, but really making sure that you're intentional about how you're organizing your CRM. And that, for investors, that also can look like, okay, are you intentional with how you're building your team out? and how you're staying in communication with them so that you can make sure you're at top of mind when you have a project. And that's, you know, your GC, who's your top plumber, who's your backup plumber, who's your electrician, who's your backup. Like, these are all people that you want to make sure are part of your team, and that you're investing in that team just as much as you are investing in, you know, the way that real estate agents are investing in clients. Like, that is
Yeah.
your sphere that you want to be building out, and making sure that you're the one going above and beyond with these people, because the best are hard to come by, obviously. So you want to make sure that if you find a property, you're on extremely good terms because you've invested in that relationship, and they're going to make sure that your project is a priority and that you're getting the best of the best service, because I'm sure we've
Yeah.
all experienced that it doesn't always go that way.
Oh yeah. Yeah. You know, one thing I want to go back to the beginning. I know I'm watching the clock. We're already over time, but I'm happy because I knew this was going to happen. But at the beginning, guys, I want you to reflect back on one of the things that Athena told us early on was when she like contracted Lyme disease, and what she was talking about, one of the effects was that anything that's, you know, has, you know, basically electrical waves, you know, phone, computer, things like that, having to wear a lead jacket and lead gloves, and yet she's still working on transactions. And it was so serious, she got an RV to go out in the middle of the wilderness, which I'm down with that. Yep, you send me out in the wilderness,
Right?
I'm happy. You know, I'll figure, I'll write contracts on blocks of granite and chisels, you know. But the fact that you did that, I mean, the persistence and being persistent and consistent isn't just a matter of your daily activities in the business of real estate, but personally, you were going through things physically and mentally, and those character traits that you developed. It's like, you know, the business that you've grown is obviously it's impressive. It's a beautiful thing, but what it does is it actually reflects who you are as a person, who you became as a person, you know, through athletic, you know, competition, and then fighting the Lyme disease. I mean, it's I love these kind of stories because it really demonstrates in a purest way the resiliency of the human spirit. Because when you have to really do something, that's when you really find out what you're capable of. You
Yeah.
know, you'll do it when you have to. So I always tell people, look, if you know that you can do that, and many people here have been through trials, and I know you've gotten through it because you're here in class tonight. Just think about this. If you can rise above what you would normally rise to, that level of energy and determination and passion and desire in moments of crisis, why not do that on every single day? Right? On your good days, do that. Just keep after it. Keep the same consistency and being persistent. You know, as a
And
famous speech from
go.
Denzel Washington, he's speaking to an LA film crew. They were going to college, studying film production. And the two things that struck me when he did that is he really emphasized being persistent and consistent. You just can't give up when you don't have that option. When plan B points to plan A, you know, you'll find out you're really capable of a lot more than you think you are, you know?
Yeah. And it's all about
Yeah.
creating whatever toolkit you need to get you through the difficult times. You know, if you know that, for me, it's really difficult to wake up in the morning and I have chronic fatigue and pain. So I know that if I blast my favorite music or one of my favorite podcasts, and it's going to get me excited enough to get out of bed, and then to do the simple act of like taking a shower. But it's all about finding those little things in your life that kind of bump you up and give you that motivation, because we need,
Yeah.
you know, there are times in life when you need external factors to help you keep going.
Yeah. Wow. Hey guys, does anybody have any questions you want to ask about, like the cards that Athena sends, doing the
Good.
videos? PF, if you have to go ahead, PF, if you want to. Yeah.
Yes, Athena, this is PF Jimenez in the Boston area.
Hello.
Very inspirational story. Just the fact that you're here is a testament, like Gary's saying, to the human spirit and
Thank
and
you.
motivation to me. Thank you. But you also mentioned that you implemented a lot of systems to get you going. How do you ward off the boredom from the system? So how do you keep the system interested to you so
Yeah.
that it doesn't become one more thing that is like, and then go ahead.
No, go for it.
Oh, is the second
Oh.
part was like, well, what is the reward system that you give yourself for accomplishing things? What is your medal at the end of the
So
week?
that's a great question. For the first part, in terms of, you know, routines and habits, I think yes, we can all get extremely run down and bored by them. But what if you're tweaking it slightly when you're getting to that place? What if every month you're switching up what your morning routine looks like? So for me, you know, personally, I see such a difference in my life and my business when I am implementing systems and routines and habits and rituals. Like if I'm waking up and I'm doing my affirmations and my gratitudes and maybe reading 10 pages of a book, and at nighttime I'm meditating, I'm writing my notes out, I'm journaling anything that I need to, I'm making my, you know, brain dumps of anything left over in my brain that I need to get on paper so I don't forget to do it. If I'm doing these things, my life and my business are doing so much better than if I wasn't. That in itself is a motivating factor that keeps me from getting too bored. But I mean, switch up your routine a little bit. You know, if you're sick of writing affirmations in the morning or notes at night, like find a different time of day to do it. You know, find some sort of something to just make it a little bit more exciting. For me, as corny as it is, like going card shopping and finding like the most unique cards that I can send to people or designing them online, like that's something that brings me a lot of joy. And then I get really excited when I'm like, oh, it's this person's birthday, I've got the perfect card for them. So finding ways of bringing joy into it. And then in terms of rewards, I'm really bad at that. I've never been great at celebrating. Yeah, like exactly. So
You know,
I've
same thing in exercise. You know how they
yeah,
say you're supposed to mix up your exercise routine because you'll get your muscles are just they won't grow anymore, you know?
yeah, totally.
So
And I
muscle
think,
confusion. Yeah.
you know, one of my favorite books that I've talked about is Atomic Habits, and it's figuring out how to just be 1% better every day. And if you can just tweak your routines throughout the day, tweak what your work day looks like, tweak, you know, for me, like I also love planners. So like finding different planners and finding the one that's going to make me excited to follow it and implement everything within it is something that gets me super excited. So figuring out little life hacks on how you can be 1% better every day. But I'm bad at celebrating and I need to get better at that. Usually I usually I overlook that. So that'll be a good reminder of something to work on for me. And thank you.
Okay. Yeah. Hey guys, anything else popping in your mind while you remember you've got somebody here, a guest teacher, and might as well take advantage of it while you can. And I need to even pay her the $1 million. You know, she's doing this on the road.
Dang it. It's
There you
probably
go.
because
Yeah.
I chatted a lot already.
Yeah. Well, this was good stuff. So really being persistent and consistent is obviously vital to develop as a character trait, and the good habits will result in you developing that good character trait, the good character traits. And in the marketing, the personal cards, in person, meeting people, going for coffee, things like that. And then you're online, so your videos, you can use Instagram short, Facebook shorts and reels, and also YouTube. You do that, you multi-purpose them across the different platforms.
I do, yeah. But again, I found a team that posts them for me and edits, because that's something that would take up, you know, several hours because I'm not tech savvy. So that's something I delegated out. I see a question about the greatness tracker. Gary, can I send it to you and
Yeah.
it can get distributed? Does that work? Cool. And
Yeah,
you
if you email
can,
it to me,
yeah,
yeah. Well, you know what? Email me and copy Sugar. She's the one that set you up on the
yeah,
podcast. Well, the class too. It's Sugar and
awesome.
REWGW. And
Yeah, I
copy me, and
have,
then
have that.
she'll include that in the email tomorrow. You'll get a copy of it too. Yeah, you'll get
Perfect.
the recording of the class. And the way we
Awesome.
do things, that in anything that we do, it's open sourcing. You have complete creative authority to take that and
Thank you.
chop it up into reels for your own purposes. And we tag you in everything we do. So everything we do, we chop it up,
Thank
send it
you.
out, and we tag you. So you hopefully will get some traction that way too. And I look forward to seeing you in September. I know we're
I
just the
can't
first
wait.
week in August. Yeah, but it'll be here before we know it. And I'm looking forward. I'm gonna be seeing some people I hadn't seen in a long time too. It's just gonna be pretty special
Oh, it'll be
session
wonderful.
for me, you know. Yeah, man. And hopefully we'll see
Mm.
some of these guys here too, you know.
Yes,
So
everyone come to Cleveland.
yeah, yeah. Have you, Shastina, have you ever been the agent to CEO? I can't
No, I
remember.
have not. No, that's why I was
Yeah,
asking when it was. So yeah, that sounds
yep.
very interesting. And I had to pop off for a second to talk to my VA on some work that had to get done. And so I missed, did you guys put it in the chat, the link for that in September? I think you guys mentioned that you would do that. And then of course it erases the chat after you get off. So
Oh, the event. Andre,
yeah,
would you mind looking that up for me, please? And then put that on the chat. Okay, Andre's going to do that. So thank you very much. It's a good idea. I didn't think about that. Well, if you guys could give Athena a big pat on the back and a big thank you. This was a really big gift for us
Thank
to have you
you.
on, Athena, and sharing your story. I mean, it's
Woohoo!
just I love the inspiring stories like that, um and then what you're
Thank-
doing in production and your team. I mean, we could probably go another hour just talking about like the what you're doing on the team, your team members and what they're doing
Yeah,
and all that and building. But I think maybe we'll have you come back again. Like
I would
after
love
each of the
to.
CEO, you
Yeah,
and I could probably collaborate and hold each other accountable, implementing what we learn. And
let's
then
do
maybe
it.
end of the year, January, come back on class and we'll blow them away, you know?
I would love that. Thank you so much for having me, and thank you everyone for listening. I hope you got a little tidbit, and if you ever need anything, please don't hesitate to reach out. I will put my website in the chat because it's got all my
Okay.
social media, my phone number, my my email, my Instagram, everything. So anyone feel free to reach out to me anytime. I will make sure that to send Gary and Sugar a bunch of great forms that you can utilize, but anything you need, I am here.
Awesome. Well,
Awesome.
thanks again. So guys, Athena just put that in there. It's AthenaBrownsonRealtor.com. And Andre, thanks Andre for doing that. Andre put in the website for agent to CEO. It looks like agent to CEO CLE for Cleveland.com. Agent to CEO CLE.com and AthenaBrownsonRealtor.com for Athena's website. Well, listen, guys, if you have anything,
so
let me
can
know.
I
I'm
say
happy
one
to
other
stay on for
thing?
another
I
few
wanted
minutes.
to say one other thing for Athena.
Oh yeah.
Because I had to pop up and she was talking just about her Lyme disease. A very good friend of mine had Lyme disease and they had to go to several different places. They actually went to one place that actually removed it. And it's
Where?
been over, I don't know, 10 years or so.
That's
And so,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, I don't know if I didn't get to hear because I had to jump off. So I don't know if yours is in remission or whether you're still going through it. But
Getting closer, but always open to different resources.
okay, yeah. So I just thought, it'd probably be good if I can at least give you their information. I'll check in with my friends to find out where they
Thank
went.
you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So then that way, if it helps you, well, there you go. See, there's just an
That's
added benefit.
amazing.
It's
I
always
really
about who you know.
appreciate it. Exactly. I'm like, I'm always willing to try anything. So thank you.
You're welcome. Absolutely. All right. Well, thanks again for your time.
Yeah, thank
Appreciate
you,
you.
everyone. I
Yeah.
appreciate you listening.
Yeah. Okay, everyone. I hope you have an awesome night tonight, and wherever you are, East Coast, West Coast, Hawaii, you're probably just getting ready to go out to the beach in Hawaii. But
That sounds great.
yeah, I'm jelly. But I
Mm.
appreciate everybody participating. Good group
Very,
tonight, and thanks
very,
again, Athena. Oh yes.
very
Hey, Bonetta, how you doing?
good. Did you see my message?
here in the chat?
Yep.
Hang on one second. Let me go back and see.
Banana, I have a client for you. This is Kay in Texas,
there it
so
is.
give me a call.
All right, okay. Thank you in advance.
Okay.
What I'll do, Vanetta, is I'll just call you.
Yep.
Let me just call you. Okay, give me about 60 seconds and I'll call you. All right, everybody. Hey, I'll see you on the one-on-ones. Make sure you're set up your one-on-ones. Remember, this is the week we're starting to use our success plans, and we're going to meet bi-weekly. So I'm counting on you to set up your one-on-ones. We're making progress. You guys are doing awesome, by the way. Statistically, you're doing way better than the national average. So kudos to you for speaking of consistent and persistent. Just amazing results. So yeah.
Keep up the
Okay.
good work.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good night.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching this episode of Monday Night Live. Be sure to subscribe to our channel and go to realestatewithgarywilson.com to join our community and start building wealth today.